Well, hello folks. We've got a little interruption here because we have with us Michael, who's a very, very tired German product manager for this here, just announced at the show, is the Alexa Mini. Michael, off you go. Tell us all about this.
Okay, this is the newest addition to our Alexa camera range. It's a camera meant to complement our larger main unit cameras and work in all the areas where kind of our larger cameras are a bit large or a bit heavy. So we had a lot of people flying multicopters or using movies call us and ask us whether it would be possible to kind of create a camera. Because most of the time for the copters it would mean they need to be much larger, and for the movies you had to actually have the M body in a backpack, which is a bit clumsy. So for these use cases we try to create a new camera, and this is the result of it.
So walk me through just some of the features of this camera. So it will do up to what resolution?
Maybe we'll start in the front, right?
Okay.
So the camera has the same LF3 sensor as our other cameras, like the other Alexas and the mirror. It has motorized ND filters in the front, so when you're in the air you don't need to land, you don't need to have a big compendium in front of the camera to carry the filter. You just have filters inside, they are motorized, you can be remote controlled, so no problem reacting on light changes.
And what are the density of those filters?
Oh, this is a clear 0.6, a 1.2 and a 2.1. We have like our well-known LF3 sensor, which is the gold standard really kind of right now out there for image quality. The camera delivers the same picture quality as Alexa and the mirror, obviously, so the same image path, same resolutions. Like this camera is going to do HD 2K, 3.2K and UHD ProRes initially. ProRes up to a level of ProRes 444 XQ. Later we are going to release an upgrade to enable 4:3 recording on the camera, so an updated firmware and a license is needed in order to kind of read out the entire 4:3 sensor. The sensor will be 4:3 in every camera, so kind of the camera will be 4:3 capable from start. It's just a firmware upgrade that's needed, like which we envision coming out somewhere between NAB and IBC. After 4:3, we will also kind of enable the camera to record ARRI RAW at frame rates up to 30 frames per second onto CFast 2.0 media. So kind of the camera has one single CFast.
That'll be raw recording internally?
Yes.
Wow.
So the camera has a single CFast 2.0 slot that initially will be used for ProRes. At IBC time range, you will be able to record raw, uncompressed ARRI RAW at 30 frames per second.
And will these be paid for upgrades, or will these be something?
Yes, the 4:3 upgrade and the ARRI RAW upgrade will cost 2,950 euros each, and will be on top on the main camera body. The main camera body is going to be 32,500 euros body only for the camera.
So talk me through the back of the camera in terms of power inputs, connectivity.
Okay. So what we have is a wide radio antenna connector, because the camera can be remote controlled by our lens control hand units like SXU1 or WCU4. WCU4 will also be able to control all the parameters of the camera, like frames per second, EI, white balance, DND filters, but also the lens motors, which can be connected to that L-bus interface on the titanium mount. You will be able to daisy chain up to 3 C-force motors from the mount. We will also release a new ARRI branded 150 gram lens motor, which is much smaller and more lightweight than our current lens motors, but still have kind of a good part of the torque, so you can use it with large prime lenses or medium-size zooms, actually. The second connector is a viewfinder connector. That's a new, rugged, military-grade connector, which is used to connect the same MVF1 viewfinder, which is currently used for AMIRA. So it's the viewfinder with the flip-out LCD screen that can be used to control the camera.
And that's a proprietary connection for ARRI, so
yes, we will also release, pretty much not in May, but like a little later, a LCD panel that is pretty much only the flip-out screen of the LCD that can be used to control the camera. That panel will be able to go in between the viewfinder and the camera, so you can put it on one side and use the viewfinder on the other side.
So if you're flying this on a Movi or something, you could take that viewfinder and use that as your framing viewfinder.
Well, actually, I wouldn't see that as an option for Movi, really. For Movi, you would...
So you can take an SDI out and feed an external monitor, no problem.
So the other thing how you can control the camera is by using the button interface here, and the surround, we call it OSD in the onboard videos, onboard monitors. With these few buttons, you will be able to select and change operational parameters of the camera on the onboard monitor. So all you need pretty much in order to run the camera is an onboard monitor and these buttons. That's all. In order to set the camera up, let's say define the codec or define the raster size or actually configure it, prepare it for the shoot, you can do this without the viewfinder as well by using kind of a tablet or a phone over Wi-Fi or with a laptop if it's really kind of a noisy environment, also using a cable through an Ethernet connector in the back of the camera. The other tools are pretty much HD SDI outs. So these are both going to be 6G HD SDI. So we can get like a 4:2 HD 4K image out of the camera when the camera is recording UHD. The second connector can be turned into a sync in the service routine. So if you need the camera to be synchronized to a display or want to use it in a sync environment, then you can turn the camera in, turn one of these connectors into a sync in and use it that way. Because we have limited connector space, we kind of went for this kind of option, so it's really an optional thing. The other connector here is power in, so it's the same connector used by AMIRA. It's an 8-pin LEMO. The power range on the camera is 10.5 volt to I think 30. I'm not sure, but I think it's a 30 volt range. So you can use all kinds of batteries like LEMO, like LiPos, on a microcopter, for example. And
just to go back, so there's two SDI outputs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the power range is pretty wide. You can use it with a wide range of different LiPo batteries or kind of standard batteries, 24 volt or whatnot. Then there is an X connector, which is basically ARRI connector to either talk to our hand units in a wired manner, or there's an RS pin on it that can be used to start-stop the camera, kind of traditional RS interface, just not an RS port. So there's a power out and serial connection on that interface that we use for other integration.
And what are these connections on the back of the camera?
So there's a time code connector, which is the same as on the other Alexa cameras, and the other LEMO is the Ethernet connector. The Ethernet connector and the X serve power, but not regulated power, just the power you put in a switched manner. So we figured that any devices around would regulate power anyway. So
and you're using a new media to record onto. Well, a new media for you guys.
Well, actually, CFast 2.0 is pretty commonly used right now. Kind of the Alexa XT has an adapter, so it can be used in the XT bay. The AMIRA only uses CFast 2.0. So it's not really kind of a new media for us.
Fair enough. So just announced today, in terms of lens mounts, are there going to be different options, or is it just simply PL?
So that lens mount is obviously specially designed for the camera because of the C-Force interface. It's a titanium mount, so it's very lightweight. In addition to that mount, kind of all the ARRI mounts will fit on the camera. So we already have an EF mount. There is a B4 mount that like blows the image up to the entire sensor. And there is the ARRI PL mount with high-rose connector in case you would want to run it with a cabrio lens or something like that.
And when do you anticipate this being available and in people's hands?
We will start taking orders in March, and we have a plan, and we think it's realistic to ship the first units in May. So
wow, so pretty quick.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, thank you very much for taking out a bit of what is probably a very hectic day for you to show us. I'm sure there's lots of other people you need to go and see. Thank you very much. You saw it here first.